Merry Christmas, everybody. I am Jeremy Birmingham. This is Birminology on the podcast. Today, we are joined by Lincoln Kienholz, Ohio State's 2023 quarterback signee, and a player that I think Buckeyes fans are going to be really interested in getting to know. Figured, why not do it on Christmas? What else are you guys doing out there? Everyone's snowed in, frozen in anyway, so let's get to it. Lincoln Kienholz will join the show now. Lincoln, appreciate you taking time, man. I know this last couple of weeks has been chaotic for you, hectic. Just first and foremost, congratulations on the commitment, the signing. How do you feel right now, just knowing that your life changed like completely in the last month?
I feel great. I mean, I know I'm going to come into a great program with a lot of great coaches and players, and I know I'm in good hands.
No, as you started to really break down this decision that you had to make, there was obviously the commitment to Washington that was a part of this. Your relationship with Kalen DeBoer, who's a fellow South Dakotan. How hard was it to have that call with him to say, "Hey, look, I really appreciate you guys, but I have to follow this instinct"?
It was a very hard phone call for sure. I think I kind of went into it just telling the truth with him and everything, and just let him know that I'm going to commit to Ohio State and flip and everything. And he was obviously a little protective about it, and he still wanted me there. But in the end, he respected my decision and everything. And I mean, the rest is history. So.
And one of the things that you've said a couple times in written form, you told me about it, when you committed, was that you're betting on yourself. You're taking this opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to go out and take a shot at a place like Ohio State. How much of that do you think is related to playing in South Dakota? I keep wanting to say South Carolina. I think because I'm dreaming of warmer weather. Not that it's much warmer there right now either, but how much do you think that is related to playing in South Dakota, where everyone sort of has maybe doubted you because you play in South Dakota, and now you get an opportunity to prove yourself on the biggest stage in college football?
Yeah, for sure. I also think that's something that Coach Day and Coach Dennis kind of pushed at me, is like, I think that you have to bet on yourself on this. And I think by doing so, it kind of put me into a better spot just with my high school team as well. Just because, I mean, there's been 2 kids out of South Dakota that's ever went into Ohio State and played football there. So I think that's huge, is that there's going to be a lot of eyes on you. And I think it's kind of prepared me for that moment as well.
I don't suppose Grant Schmidt, the 2015 signee offensive lineman who signed with Ohio State and he ended up transferring to Cincinnati. But you're a little bit younger than Grant. So what was it really about Ryan Day that you as a quarterback found yourself drawn to? What is it? Is it his program? Is it the way that his offense runs? Is it his mentality with quarterbacks? Which of those things do you think really was the driving force for you?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think a big thing is that he holds all of his players to a high standard, and I think especially his quarterbacks, because I think their offenses ran mostly out of their quarterbacks. So I think that's huge just for me as well, because I'm more of a throwing and passing quarterback. I mean, a throwing and running quarterback. So I think that kind of expands the game a little bit there, but. Obviously he does a great job with his quarterbacks that he's had in the past, because he's been putting almost all of them up for a Heisman, and then obviously have a chance at the NFL.
Yeah, it is interesting. Troy Smith won a Heisman Trophy at Ohio State in 2006. He was the first Ohio State quarterback to win a Heisman. And then now, since Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, and C.J. Stroud, all 3 of them have been Heisman finalists. Those 3 are all very different quarterbacks. Justin obviously is much more known for his athleticism, but he obviously has a big arm as well. CJ and Dwayne are more pocket guys. You mentioned that you have felt like, or they talked to you merely about the way that Justin used his legs, but that's not the way they've really recruited the spot in the last couple of years. Was there a discussion with them about how they wanted someone that has the ability to move around a little bit? I know Devin Brown. I don't know if you got to know Devin at all in your official visit, but you and Devin are pretty similar quarterbacks in that way. You have a lot of the similar playing style.
Yeah, for sure. I did get to meet Devin on my visit, and I think he's a really good guy. for sure. I think that they've been kind of reaching out and looking for quarterbacks the past couple of years that can do both. Just because I think honestly it opens up their game a little bit, and it's definitely opened up our game here in high school. Just because I don't think people can just focus on one thing that I can do. They have to prepare for both things. So I think that's huge as well. So with that being said, I think the athleticism point of it is kind of huge with the quarterback as well.
What's a better feeling, throwing a touchdown or running it, or like, let's say you're at the 45-yard line, right? You're at the plus 45. You drop back, you throw a dime into the corner of the end zone for a touchdown, or you have to scramble a little bit, improvise, break out of the pocket, juke a dude here or there, run someone over, spin move around someone, and then score yourself. What's a better feeling?
Honestly, it kind of depends on the moment. I think like if you need a quick one like that, I think throwing it is better and it's more fun just because you did put a ball in the perfect spot and your receiver made a catch for a touchdown. But I mean, I think there's some times as well when I'm running around and juke people or hit someone hard, and I think it's just a good feeling.
Hitting someone hard is something I want to talk about. I talked to your coach, Steve Seal, about you 2 weeks ago, and he mentioned that in practice, sometimes you like to line up on scout team and play defensive back and just to try to help other ways. And like, what is it about? Where did you get this competitive streak? We've seen the video of you hitting, playing basketball, dropping 3-pointers on people, hitting blasts on the baseball diamond, hitting home runs. I mean, where did you get this competitive fuel from?
I think I got it just from when I was young. I hated losing, and I think that's big with it is because I'm just really competitive um in that aspect. Also, it's just it's just kind of natural for me to go out and try my hardest and do my best no matter what it is, and I think um I think that just kind of brings out the competitiveness in me.
I have spoken to a few different people around the Ohio State program about you since you committed and after you signed. And I asked someone to try to compare you to a player that Ohio State fans would know, because I think it's the way that people really kind of get an idea of what type of player you are. And the response that I received was, I'm not going to say he's Joe Burrow, but they see some similarities athletically. And I believe that if you grown up in small town Ohio as opposed to big city South Dakota, that people would see that comparison probably a little bit more. Joe was a very good multi-sport athlete, did a lot of things, on a really good basketball player, played baseball, played cornerback for his team when he wasn't, breaking Ohio's all-time passing record and that kind of stuff. Is it crazy to you to hear that type of stuff? And does it challenge you? Does it flatter you? What is the response when you hear those? I mean, you told me that they mentioned Justin Fields to you, and now I'm saying that I've heard from other people it's more Joe Burrow. Like, those are pretty crazy comparisons, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because obviously both are really good quarterbacks. And I think it's cool to just be up with them. But also, I think it's just a thing where, you kind of have to bet on yourself, and you kind of have to have that high standard of you can be one of those guys. You can be very similar to one of those guys as well. But also, I think just being a multi-sport athlete is huge just for other sports because um, I think just little moves and little things in one sport can put you in a better position in another sport.
There was not a lot of time for you to get to know Ohio State. You were there for 36 hours on the weekend of November 26th.
Yep.
Had to get back home. South Dakota then decided to open up the snow wall, and the coaches couldn't even come out and do an at-home visit with you because of snowstorms and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
What do you think that the biggest adjustment is going to be when you get to Ohio State? And as far as what you still are learning about the school, about the program, where are you at in that process? What do you feel like, hey, I need to know this about Ohio State?
I think when I was there, I did see a lot of stuff. I saw the game day atmosphere, which was huge. all the facilities, coaches, recruits, everything. So I think my biggest thing is just trying to get used to just being there for the next 4 or 5 years. So because I mean, when I was there, I kind of saw it as like I mean, kind of like a Midwestern place, and it kind of felt like home a little bit. So I kind of know that I can go there and just kind of make it a home.
Fit
Yeah,
in.
fit in basically. Yes.
If a big part of fitting in is the guys that are entering this class of 2023 with you, and all 20, signees that signed on Wednesday. I assume you've had a chance to speak to pretty much everyone at this point and get to know people on the periphery.
Yep.
Um, I'm also going to assume that Luke Montgomery is a guy who has been talking to you the most, because that's just what Luke does. He talks to everyone.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
how important was it for you to feel comfortable with these guys, to get to know, you're in, is it pronounced Pierre or Pierre?
It's peer.
Uh-huh. See, that's something that no one would know if without this podcast. Everyone from around the country has thought it's Pierre for our entire lives.
Yep.
So you're up there in Pierre, South Dakota. You have a Brandon Innes down there in Miami, Florida, right?
Yep.
How important was it for you to just vibe with Brandon and get to know him a little bit and realize that you guys are all part of the same journey?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, when I first got there, Luke was the first person that I met, and he kind of just set me up to meet all the other guys as well. And I think just meeting them is kind of cool, just because they're from a different part of the country, and I mean they're all a little different, but at the same time, I think we're all a little bit the same, and I think we all share like the same stuff as well. So, um, I mean, just meeting Brandon and meeting Carnell and meeting Bryson as well. I think that we all kind of have that little bit of similarity as well.
I think that's what makes sports so awesome, because you guys are all, if you weren't playing sports, you couldn't probably find anything that felt like you were sharing an experience, but yet here you are, and like you're all being recruited by Ohio State to play football there. And it forces you to be brought together in a way. For you as a quarterback, when you see Carnell Tate, Brandon Innes, Bryson Rogers, Noah Rogers, Jelani Thurman in this class, I imagine that played a role in saying, you know what, I should probably get on board. I mean, how exciting is it to see a group of receivers like that and know that you get to develop and grow with them?
I think it's really important just because I'll get to go in and throw to some of the best receivers in the country, and I think that's just huge, just to be surrounded by some of the best players in the country as well. So I think that was a big decision. When I decided Ohio State was just that I'll be surrounded by some of the best players in the country, and I think they'll all push me to be the best I can be.
One of the things I imagine that is very different, being committed to Ohio State as opposed to Washington, who is a big program, Power 5 conference, obviously, and competing for Pac-12 championships. The media pressure, the spotlight at Ohio State is significantly bigger.
Yeah.
How much of an adjustment has it been for you in the last month to sort of absorb this when all of a sudden you go from being committed to Washington for 5 months and probably don't have a lot of people bugging you or trying to talk to you, and then all of a sudden it blows up? How has it been a blessing? Has it been a problem? I mean, how would you rate the last month of your life?
It's been a little different just because I haven't been used to a lot of the media coverage like at all, and I think once I committed, it's just I mean, I kind of had to turn off my Instagram and my Twitter notifications because it was just ding, 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 ding every second. So I had to turn that off and just kind of relax from that. But I mean, it's still really cool that a lot of people. I think it's cool that they pay attention to it, and I think it's cool that they reach out. But I mean, also it's just the nasty comments that you get. It's just, I mean, because I think there's one thing that I learned through all this is that you're not going to be able to please everyone, and I think that for me and for future recruits, I think that's just something that you're gonna have to live with.
But now, how do you stay humble, Lincoln? I mean, everyone's going to tell you you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Here you are. 3 months ago, nobody knew who you were, and now you're the number 5 ranked quarterback in the country. Like, is it easy to say, hey, you know what? I'm still the same kid, or does mom have to get in your ear and say, look, Lincoln, you still have to do the dishes?
I mean, I think there's a little bit of both, just because like I know that I'm gonna go do great things, but I still have to stay humble. I mean, I'm still the same kid that I was before I started this whole process as well. So I think it's a lot similar from when I started the process.
Let's get to the big question here. You told me 2 weeks ago your goal is you want to finish out your senior season at TF Riggs, your senior year at TF Riggs, play baseball. Has there been any change of heart? Are you thinking maybe it makes sense to get into Ohio State? Or last year, Caden Curry, who was a very highly ranked baseball player at Greenwood, Center Grove High School in Greenwood, Indiana, he signed his letter of intent on December 20th and said, I'm not enrolling until the summer. And then all of a sudden he was at Ohio State 2 weeks later because he said, hey, you know what? I think I need to be there early. Is there a part of you that says there's value to this? Obviously you love playing other sports. You love being around your friends and family. How do you measure those two things against each other and come up with a decision that works for you?
I've been talking about it a lot just the past couple weeks, just because they've kind of asked if I was going to do it or not. But so I've been kind of just preparing for it and just kind of asking questions and stuff like that. But I think it's a huge thing because I definitely did not prepare at all to come early, and now it's in consideration. So I think I'm just trying to figure out stuff still. But I think honestly, it would help me a lot just to go there, because now that CJ's gone, I mean, it opens up a spot, and honestly, I think that I could maybe go in and earn a spot. So, but also, I mean, I'm still leaving a lot of stuff behind. I'm leaving basketball and baseball and friends, family, stuff like that. But, I mean, I think that's just something that I'm just gonna have to keep working through.
Yeah, I mean, it's a major decision. Obviously, it's not like you're just driving 2 hours down the road. It's going, 1,000 miles away and having to basically begin being an adult tomorrow, or in this case, 14 days. So obviously a lot of discussions that have to be had with you and your family. Let's bring it back to some levity here. What are you going to miss whether it's in 2 weeks or 6 months, when you decide that you're off to Columbus? What's the one meal that your mom makes at home that you're going to miss the most?
Oh, goodness. I mean, she makes some really good biscuits and gravy, so I think that's one thing I'm going to miss. But she also cooks almost every night, so I think I'm going to miss a lot of those meals.
The Woody Hayes Athletic Center has a fully stocked, well-rounded dining area for you guys that is open basically all the time. So you'll still get fed a lot. I don't know if they have good biscuits and gravy. I did have some cheesy potatoes up there last week that were unbelievable for breakfast, but that's neither here nor there. Perfect. You play 3 sports. You play basketball, you play baseball, you play football. What do you do when you have time for yourself and your friends? What's free time in Pierre, South Dakota for Lincoln Kienholz?
I mean, it kind of depends on the season, just because during the summer it can be above 100 degrees, and then right now it's negative 40. So, it just kind of depends. I do a lot of hunting and fishing. I hunt pheasant, duck, geese, deer. And then in the summer it's just a lot of stuff on the river that we have here. So we do like boating, jet skis, and just go hang out on the beach, stuff like that. So,
well, one of the guys that does a lot of work with the podcast and myself is Anthony Schlegel, who's a former Ohio State linebacker who is a huge he-hunter. I'm sure he would love to talk to you about that once you get to Columbus. I think he has some hunting ground. That he's from Texas originally, but he has like a hunting area in Ohio that he always goes to, but that's neither here nor there. That's the beauty of NIL now, Lincoln. You can find ways to make money off of doing stuff like going hunting. So you never know. What's the song of choice? What do you listen to when you're getting pumped up in the locker room before a game?
I've been listening to a lot of the new Metro Boomin album. I think that's a really good album. But also I listen to a lot of Drake. But I think it's just kind of like the hip hop and the rap stuff. So
you're not a country guy out there in Big Sky country?
I mean a little bit, but for pump up for stuff like that, more like the hip hop and the rap stuff.
Last thing, if there's one thing Ohio State fans who are just starting to really learn about Lincoln Kienholz, the player, the person, what is one thing that they need to know about you?
They need to know that obviously I'm a really humble guy, but when it comes to it, I will turn it on and make it happen.
Yeah, a 3-time state tournament MVP, 4-time state champion in football. I would say that you've done a pretty good. You've broken how many different state records? You have the state all-time passing record. I don't know. Do you have the all-time touchdown record in South Dakota?
Yep.
Do you know how many records you've broken? Do you have like that circled somewhere?
I don't know. I think I have a couple. I think 2 or 3 or 4 state records, and then I have almost all the school records. So,
well, bigger and bigger things ahead, bigger school records to try to break in Columbus. There's been a bevy of quarterbacks breaking records at Ohio State in the last 5 years under the Ryan Day offense, and looking forward to seeing you get your shot there, Lincoln, whether that's in 2 weeks from now or whether that's 6 months from now. Looking forward to seeing you on campus and getting to know you even better. So really do appreciate you taking time. I know it's the holidays and everyone's busy, even if it's 40 degrees below zero outside and you're not really doing anything. So thank you so much for taking time to join the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. That's Lincoln Kienholz, everyone. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been Birminology on the podcast on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. Hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday.